Good afternoon. We'll be going over the CloudCraze managed package in this tutorial. The expectation is that you have access to the CloudCraze wiki and you have an organization, Salesforce org, that has been properly entitled to receive the managed package. There are tutorials uh, to watch that provide a overview of the installation process. This is an overview of the managed package and what there is to offer on the wiki space as well. So what we're looking at is the CloudCraze wiki space on documentation. We can click into the releases area. This provides an overview of all of the versions and the releases within the season. So for example, if I wanted to see an overview of what is available in 4.6, I can click onto the spring 2017, and there are some tutorials here, PDFs and multimedia videos you can watch for demonstration as to what's there. So let's go and look at version 4.5. So a typical CloudCraze version will have 4 documents in it. First, there'll be an installation guide. When you're installing the managed package, you will want to follow this installation guide closely. And depending on the environment that you're installing, there's 2 important points here. You want to first, when you install the managed package, before clicking the install button, you want to install for specific profiles. Then you want to scroll down in the screen and pick the profile, the customer community user profile that you created during the initial steps up in front here. That's one critical thing that you want to make sure you follow. After the installation process is completed, you'll want to make sure that you check the community user profile that you created to make sure that the custom object permissions are set properly. This link in this wiki page will provide you access to what those checkboxes should look like. There's only about 10 or 12 checkboxes to verify. So scrolling down, once you get the managed package installed, you begin to set up your storefront. You can set up the default storefront and test it to make sure that it works, or you can set up your own storefront and load the appropriate data. So that brings us to point 2. When you get to the point for loading data, which is to initialize the information and data that's sitting in the CloudCraze managed package that was currently just recently installed, you have 2 options. Option 1 is you can use the CC data minimum and enter that information in the input box below right here. You can replace what that says and put CC data minimum. What that will do is it will not load any sample category or sample priceless items into your storefront. It will only load what you need to configure a storefront from scratch. Number 2 option is use CC Data 2. This is what the default is. This will load a fictitious store by the name of Cloudburst and all of its products. It'll have roughly 200 products. It'll have a half a dozen price lists, as well as all of the categories, product specs, product media, everything that you would think you would need. So depending on the environment you're spinning up, for example, if you're spinning up your first developer sandbox, you may want to use CC Data 2, because then you have a point of reference, a storefront that you could use that's working. It has every product type. It has a kit, a bundle. It shows how it's configured, and you can kind of use that as your guide when you're setting up your own storefront for your initiative. Um, if you're installing this into a UAT or a SIT environment, which is a sandbox which is up closer to production, the option that you'll probably want to choose will be the CC data minimum. That will allow you to not have to remove any of the fictitious Cloudburst data information. So that's really the main. Just make sure you follow this entire installation guide from start to finish. Um, make notes if you're making any changes to naming of conventions of any of the groups or the community user profiles that are created. If you're doing an upgrade, it's important to look at the release notes. So um, if you're upgrading from version 3 or version or 4.3, 4.4, and you're going up to 4.5, you're going to want to look at the release notes, and especially, obviously we'll be looking at new features. It's important to understand that Cloud Craze comes out with new features every season, and you may have an opportunity to leverage one of these as opposed to extending the current product. There's also an enhancements area, which will, basically tell you what enhancements came, feature functionality came between with this release from the previous one, as well as a very important area here is upgrade fixes and enhancements, fixes, and upgrade considerations. So here's the upgrade considerations. If you're going from a previous version and you're upgrading to a new full 4.x version, you're going to want to look at these. Review each one of these, apply it to what you know about your existing storefront implementation, and take the appropriate action.